next year, I'm going to definitely send out the invite in May for the county elections next year and have the same event, but probably outside, so students can walk through the tables and get to know the party chairs, representatives for the candidates, or whoever can come. But we wanted to be as unbiased as we could, so we went through the party chairs. So we didn't contact direct candidates, because then we would have been favoring some people. So.
May I add to that? The students took over on that because we've been getting a lot of requests from all kinds of candidates. And the way the campus handles that through Ann's office is to say, if student government's interested, that's how they come in. So well done.
Thank you.
Well done.
And I feel that next year will be much more, they'll come because we'll send it out in May, and they're going to have time to plan. I sent it out in September after the idea, and I don't think political chairs have like a weekend free in October right before election. So, so it was really cool though. I got to meet some cool people, and SGA tabled themselves, and we had voter registration forms ready, even though 4 days ago it ended, but just for next year, just as a education kind of thing. And we had the absentee ballots ready for students. So we had a few students take those. So that was pretty cool. Yeah. So that's one of our events that we had. Homecoming weekend, I know you guys talked about it after I left in the meeting last weekend of the upcoming homecoming weekend, but as SGA's part in it, all were allowed floats, so clubs were allowed to have floats. We had a float making time, I think 2 days before the homecoming, and it was really cool. Clubs got to partake in that, and every club got to make a banner. I'm not sure if you guys have seen the banners on the side of the school. Yeah, it's a huge thing. So every club got to do that. We had a club making banner the night before. And that's where the homecoming king and queen were announced. So it was really, really cool school spirit. I went to it, and a lot of people were on the floor making those banners, and clubs got to partake in that. So that's what SJ offered them.
Who was the queen?
Yes.
Me.
Your Majesty.
Michael Aceta. He's another RA in my building, actually. Great guy. I don't know if you know him, but he deserved it. So he was really happy last year here. So homecoming weekend really went well for SGA, and clubs really received it well. So it was good. Did you guys go to homecoming? A lot of you?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And then the next thing, I think I talked about the food committee you were starting, having food before SGA meetings. We changed it to a hospitality committee to kind of make it a bigger thing than just food, kind of greeting students as they come in. There's a few students on this committee that empower students to become SGA members. So we're doing different little niches like that in the SGA government to empower students to be heard, to have a voice in it. So that's just one of our little things that we're doing that's working really well. We're actually featuring businesses and foods. Foods, I guess, in the community. So we've been catered by the Bakery House. You know,
Brick House Bakery.
Yeah, and Pizza Shack, Wolf's. A few things that my PR is actually way more in charge of, and she knows way more. Even the Carriage House, as soon as they did their opening that Tuesday, we went there, we bought a bunch of stuff, and we viewed them. And then Jason Evans came and talked about the Carriage House and the new retail shop and the general store. So it's pretty cool. That SGA is trying to do community outreach and community engagement, and it's working really well. We've gotten some discounts from it, and the community, I think, is really receiving it well from us. And it's great food, and the SGA members love it. So,
Home run.
The next thing I want to talk about is the charity volleyball. I don't know if every year we do a charity volleyball, as you guys know, hopefully. SGA offers clubs an opportunity to sign up 6 to 8 per team to compete to the death for a charity, but in a volleyball game. So they can choose a charity, or SGA chooses the charity some years. And so Hurricane Florence came through a few weeks ago, and our charity that we chose was the Charleston Animal Society because of the animal rescue that's happening in the parts of the Hurricane Florence really, really attacked. So we chose it for them this year because we thought that was like a value for us. And one of our things is like $40 for our four-legged friends. So it's $40 to get a team into the volleyball tournament, but it's just another way SGA is trying to incorporate clubs to entertain each other and to get involved and to compete in a friendly manner for a great cause. So.
Did it happen?
It's November 1st.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah, it's on a Thursday, November 1st. You guys are welcome to come and watch. It's pretty intense, and we also hand out free t-shirts. So.
What time does that start?
7 o'clock. Yeah. And free t-shirts are definitely a winner for clubs because they all want free t-shirts. The last thing I want to talk about was the Leadership Summit. So we're doing a Leadership Summit. SJ is partnering with Dr. Ann Hopkins, VP of Student Development. We're doing a 3 to 4 hour leadership summit with a guest speaker, workshops to try to get in leaders and to train them in a more on-campus kind of way, not going off campus. It's Dr. Ann's like baby, and we've been meeting, and we have a cool guest speaker coming in for workshops, and I'm helping out with some workshops. SGA, not me. SGA is helping out with some workshops. And we're partnering with Madeline, Jeff Foote. I don't know if these names ring a bell, but I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about the Leadership Summit.
It's going to be November 9th.
Yes, November 9th.
We're inviting some faculty and staff also. Trying to get really information from students in addition to educating them. As Mary said, we learn from students also. So what are they looking for in leadership experiences on campus? We talk about it.
Yeah, I think a lot of students will come out. We're targeting some really cool areas like RAs, Kobe Quest. I actually have the sheet, but we're really trying to, every part of the team has like a significant area that they're going to focus on. Like we have an RD who's going to focus on the RAs. I'm going to focus on our SGA members. So I think it'll be really cool. We're aiming for more than 100 people, so I'm excited. And that's all I have for you guys.
Well, that's a lot.
Yeah, I know.
You have time to go to school?
No. Don't even go to
Cheyenne, do you want to talk about the upcoming meeting we're going to have with the students?
Oh, the web check-in?
The pizza?
Oh, the pizza with the president, sorry. Yeah, we're having a pizza with the president. We've had this like almost every year. Dr. Trenzi has been here. It's been her new legacy, actually, where we have pizza with the president, me and President Terenzio. Students come in, they can talk about concerns they have or ideas. Really, it's just kind of like a icebreaker open forum for students to feel comfortable with President Terenzio and kind of have a chill atmosphere so they can feel comfortable expressing their concerns or ideas. It's not all negative. If anything, we see a lot of bonding happening and be more visible, and that's our whole goal for this, especially SGA. So I'm glad to be partaking in this. And the next date, honestly, I think it's November 7th.
This Thursday.
It's
Tomorrow.
So I knew that, and
I may be there by myself.
Yeah. So it'll be fun.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's 7 o'clock.
I'll validate. She did know. We were texting about it.
Yeah. Just wanting to play. So yeah, it's tomorrow. I brought it even up in my SGA meeting. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So we'll have pizza, and students have like kind of a voice, and that's what it's all about.
Thank you so much, Ryan.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I have a comment.
Sure.
I'm really pleased that they're doing the voter registration and familiarity with the different parties and candidates. I will say that I've been approached by various members of the community saying, how can we get to the campus to sign students up? And I'm saying, I don't have any idea what I can do, and I'm not going to do it. I will ask that you consider having this event at least a week to 10 days before the final date to register to vote.
Okay, yeah. We thought of having it in September next year.
We've done that.
Been doing voter registration
All along,
throughout
starting
Okay.
with Constitution Day on
Yeah,
September.
they did have that.
So there's a huge voter, get out the vote. I'll show you the poster. It's actually on my desk. Get out the vote kind
Great.
of thing.
Yeah.
Pleased to hear that, and pleased to know that there's a movement to develop the interest in the younger population to do their part.
Yeah, and we've
We're
seen
all
that.
needed.
Yeah, we've seen that push. And yeah, honestly, that wasn't an original idea. I've seen this already happen on campus, like Jeff Foote and Mike Waxman on registration, no.
Constitution Day.
They actually are outside right in front of BAUC with a whole thing, and they're dressed up as like guys in like hats and everything, and they have their voter registration forms, and they teach them, and they even mail it out for kids too. So they're really trying to,
Great.
yeah, so I kind of just stole that idea.
Yeah.
But we'll continue it, trust me.
Absolutely.
Okay,
If you ever need any help or anything with that, the Board of Elections will be glad to assist you in any way you want.
All right, thank you.
I know a couple of people there, so.
All right, I got the in. Cool. Thanks.
We just have to be careful that it's bipartisan.
Well,
That's all I ask.
anything to do with the Board of Elections.
It's always bipartisan. So.
Not like the college council. Well, it's true.
That's
true. I've never understood that exact, excuse me.
No, it's okay, thank you.
Okay, let's move on then to the president's update.
I just want to pick up where Cheyenne left off to talk too about the Greeks and how we're moving forward with that. We have a draft document that is what we're referring to as the MOU, which will be the bylaws for the Greek associations. So it's still being vetted. We've got to put it through our legal counsel, but we're using it now with the Greeks as their relationship with us. So we're trying it out. So it's a draft, a working draft, and it's really going to be what we're going to expect. We're going to do a Greek council. We have, I don't know, 2 or 3 other Greek organizations that are interested. So that's really moving forward. We're hoping by the end of the year that that's official. But as you can imagine, there's a lot of pieces to it. Which ones are national chapters, which ones are not. But good work in Ann's office with all of that. And SGA has helped in terms of putting them through pre-club status and all that stuff. And we're recognizing, we're allowing them to table. But it's moving forward, I think, nicely. Anything else you want to add?
Well, Matt, I just went to a Greek council meeting the other day, and Matt reminded them about the handbook and making sure everybody's reading it and if they have any questions. So he's keeping it in front of the faces for you.
Good, yeah. So I wanted to let you know that. A couple things, too. We have some initiatives we've listed to keep you up to speed. SUNY initiatives, we mentioned philanthropy in particular and online education. These two are 2 priorities of the Chancellor. She has actually 4 priorities, but these 2 are the ones that are of most interest to her. The philanthropy one, she wants to have 1,000 endowed faculty chairs by 2020. I'm not 2020.
10 years, I think.
Yeah, 10 years. Yeah,
10 years.
in 10 years, thank you. And what SUNY wants to do is SUNY will pay part of the endowed chair. So SUNY will kick in the Impact Foundation and the college. So we're looking into that as a way to diversify the faculty. It's also a project she's interested in, is called, what she's going to call Prodigy, and it's going to be ways of having very talented faculty who may not have their doctorates done yet or in process to start coming on campus to teach, and then to have the faculty who will be leaving mentor them before they leave. So she's really hell-bent on this, and I think it's a good program. The tech sector said, well, you know, it's a research one look, but if you're interested in applied research in the way we do it here, we'd like to share that with you. And she was very, very excited that there could be different ways of bringing the endowed chair to each campus. She is also ramping up our obligation for philanthropy. So John's timing to be here is right on the money, to put it mildly, right? Online education is something else she's very interested in. Every major system in the country, higher ed system in the country, has a very robust online program. SUNY's is not as robust as she would like. So it doesn't mean all of us are going into it, or if we do, that the entire campus will be online. But we are looking at it with the faculty who have interest. But we also found out, Sue, about the high schools. You want to tell them what we've learned?
About the online?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're getting, initially we didn't have a lot of requests from college and the high school for online courses, but we now have this USDA grant, and part of that sub-award that we issued to Cobleskill Richmondville was to develop an online course that could be in ag, that could be offered. And so that'll be actually launched in the spring. But we've found out that some of the schools have been taking this upon themselves and doing this. So Middleburg, for example, is offering an online course that Taconic Hills is registering students in. So, we get checks from Taconic Hills and we're like, what? We don't have a partnership with Taconic Hills. What's going on? Come to find out, they've kind of made their own additional partnerships. So we're trying to bring all that together, but there seems to be a need for it.
The other areas she's is interested in is moving innovation and entrepreneurship, individualized education, sustainability, and partnerships. She has asked all campuses to align our strategic plans to these, and thank God our strategic plan already aligns well, and the communications and marketing office is about ready to launch on our website SUNY Cobbleskill's alignment with the Chancellor's 4 themes. So that's going to be on our website. We're going to invite the community to keep adding to it, so we are catching everything. So it hasn't been launched yet, but so this is how we're going to keep tabs on how well we're doing with this. Assemblywoman Deborah Glick is going to be on campus tomorrow for a visit, and so we are prepared to welcome her. She is a very powerful force in the higher education committee and is very pro public education. So she's going to be with us for a couple hours, which I think is very, very important. Remember when the NIC was here, the National Intelligence Council? Well, they have tapped one of our faculty to join them in Washington, D.C. on their dime to be on a highly privileged panel on fishery and wildlife, and it's our Mark Conwell. So he had a chance to talk to them when he was here, and they were just beyond impressed with him, and obviously the entire campus. So they are starting to tap us for this exceptional work. So he'll be going to D.C. soon, right? It's very soon, Sunday, to be on an exclusive panel to talk about his work and how that has implications for the national security. So I was very impressed that they kept their word, that we would be one of the first partners with them on that next report that will go out in 2020. So yeah, it's very nice. I've been asked to do a podcast for the Gates Foundation. 3 presidents have been asked out of ASCU, which is it's a pretty big deal. There are 450 ASCU institutions. 3 of us have been asked to represent what we do, and I've been asked in particular to talk about community engagement, and I will be with the Gates Foundation people on October 29th in DC. So we'll see where that podcast takes us. I had just been on TV in Syracuse with Susan Arbetter. That show will be aired in November, and that was about the cost of education, the Excelsior Scholarship. So I represented, again, the public sector. SUNY had asked if I would do that. So that happened, and there was one other one I can't remember now. My mind is going blank, but it'll come to me. But in the meantime, I want to hand out the enrollment report for you all. And then as that's going around, I'd like Bonnie to share the next set of materials we have developed for our students, because it's pretty exciting.
Okay, well, we wanted our acceptances to be more than a plain white number 10 envelope. So students who are accepted will receive this envelope with this on the back.
Oh, nice.
And a very striking acceptance packet, which you open up and has a whimsical view of the campus, which includes a hidden tiger, and next steps to get started. And we've talked before about the financial aid matrix and our strategically using our scholarship and resources differently, and we wanted a companion piece for students who receive scholarships to receive something fun. So this is their envelope, and this will be personalized with their information. And we use the same theme as the poster you've seen, where stars shine brighter. This is helping you shine brighter. So.
Outstanding.
It is wonderful.
Thank you.
The materials are wonderful. I have the cow up in my office. And everybody comes in and, wow!
Yeah.
And I explain what it is. They are very impressed, at least with the cow.
Good. We have very talented people and consultants. So,
Yeah.
I apologize. I try to get the report all on one page. The only piece missing in the back is the percentage, but everything else you need. But I've been assessing it with the team, and just to say, pretty much we're flat from last year. But what we're starting to look at, where are we growing? Where are we not? And for example, I wanted to give you some highlights. If you look at, so first time, full time since 2013, like we were at 772, for example, we're now at 694, but we had dipped in 16, so we're bringing it back. You have to realize too that this is your first time, full time, 19-year-old, and as this is progressing, the number of 19-year-olds who will be going to college in New York State is dropping. As a matter of fact, there was a statistic 2 years ago that 19% fewer students are interested in going into higher education from upstate New York. That's not the case in New York City. So that we have the numbers we have is very important to praise, because there are SUNY schools that are 9-10% down in enrollment already this year. The fact that we are where we are is exemplary, to put it mildly. So I want to bring that to your attention. Transfer students, you can see we're up. We're at 234, even higher than the watershed years. So we're getting those students in. We're trying to figure out, again, the associate bachelor's relationship. Bachelor's degree enrollments are going up, but we also have internal transfers in our associates. So you may see associates go down, but we think it's that they're still here, some of them, and we're trying to figure out the budget model to say, okay, how many, that's what with Bonnie's matrix too, how many bachelor's degree seeking students are there? How many transfer bachelor students are there? How many associate degree students are there? And who will stay? And we also are, I think, a little bit a victim of our own success with all the pathway programs we have. We have many, much more, right, Sue, articulations with other schools in terms of sending our students on to them. So we were actually on that television show that I was on. Eli Dworkin was one of the other panelists, and he was saying, the graduation and retention rates are low, and I said, are you using IPEDS data? The data that doesn't show internal transfers or anything that's different than first time, full time, never stopping out. And he said, no. I said, well, I think you better look at that, because you're missing the boat and how the mix of higher education is happening. Remember, our students come in with at least 6 credits to their name, 9 credits to their name, right? And our PTEC students are going to be done before they even go to college. As interesting as that is, right? So I wanted to point that out to you. You can also see the retention. Well, there's a lot of data here, but I wanted to point some of these pieces out to you. So today we're at 2274. That is down from our watershed years, but we have made ground. So I'm pleased where we are. And if you look at PACE down at the bottom, we're 50 more than we have been. So the PACE program, which is where we have programs in other campuses and the work and these are the credit-bearing students. These don't include the non-credit programs. So we're diversifying is what I'm trying to show you, as we said we would. We have to. But I don't know if Bonnie or Sue want to add anything to this conversation.
Slightly off topic, but what I would add is the arrival of Cobleskill, which is, I believe,
That's not off topic. Yes.
Parked over there, which is our van that we obtained through a SUNY grant before my time with enrollment. But it's a transit van that is for learning in motion, and it's beautifully decked out. I can show you an electronic picture of it. You can't miss it. And the idea is that faculty will develop 2-minute lessons which will be either in person or on video. It has a big TV screen, and the idea is that faculty, admissions counselors can take this out anywhere and everywhere, show a video of a 2-minute lesson followed by a hands-on activity to promote our program and the type of learning we have here at Cobleskill. We debuted it on Saturday at open house, and apparently people were quite taken with it, and many families were seen taking pictures of themselves in front of it.
It's spectacular, to put it
You
mildly.
can't miss it. That's
Can't
for
miss
sure.
it. Right. Sue, anything else you want to add that I missed, or what? Anything else we're learning in your mind from this?
No, one thing that was mentioned at the CAO meeting, there's a new provost at SUNY, and he talked about, when you talk about the demographic changes, what he mentioned was that the growth in New York City was not as great as anticipated. And
Oh,
so,
really? Oh.
maybe they were anticipating, say, 15% or higher growth, and it was more like 11. So, everyone has shifted a bit to recruit from New York City. But so I think even within that context, we fared really well. So I think that's the point that we continue to try to diversify. And
Could I ask a question? Are the private colleges having as much trouble with enrollment? I hope the answer is yes. No.
They are. There was a private college representative on the panel. It was interesting. They have some decline, but they are confident in their analyses that because of Excelsior, they're another 5% down. And they've put it squarely at the feet of Excelsior. So when Susan Arbetter pushed back, she said, how do you know that? They said all other indicators we use, they seem to be at the same level in terms of their attrition rates and their number of students who apply. So they are experiencing at least a 5% downturn.
All right. I just concerned, sometimes we don't sell public education the way we should. I think it's one of the greatest inventions of an American democracy. And so I want to congratulate you too, as Linda did, on
Thank you.
No, it's very important in getting engaged with the community.
Bless you.
So I just wanted to make certain that this, but it does concern me that students are not going forward to higher education and that we have not made our case about the necessity of that for a whole lot of reasons. So.
Well, are we able to run any sort of market share statistic? Because if the pie is shrinking, are we getting a bigger piece of the pie? Are we maintaining?
In terms of enrollment?
Well, I'm not sure what the best measure would be in terms of total
Right.
student, in terms of applications, in terms of acceptance,
Well,
whatever might be meaningful.
I do know that, well, putting CUNY aside, SUNY has about 1.5 million students.
Yeah.
The privates are about 450,000. What you would say is that the privates probably do a better job, believe it or not, at the master's level. And that's been brought to our attention. But you got to realize when he was talking about privates too, he was saying their retention rate, graduation rate are like, in the 80%. But I didn't push back, but I said, take out NYU, Columbia, and those schools and tell us what the retention and graduation rates are, because the other privates are saying they're trying to pick up the lion's share of those students who need more assistance. I mean, it depends how you look at it. But one thing I've said is that we've got to be careful. I know, the public sector is important, but the private sector was here for a long time before SUNY got its act together, too. And, they have been a part of the New York landscape. So I don't know what the answer is. I do know Excelsior has Boost. People say it was only 22,000 students, but it's 22,000 students, and it's not that we're also opening the floodgates. So if there's other things in the way you want to think about it, we certainly can get you that information, but it's a great question, in terms of where we are. But this chancellor is going to get it to another level, guaranteed. Guaranteed. Any other, yeah.
I'm interested in knowing when the PTEC students come here, assuming that a large number of them come, they will already have an associate's degree if they've completed the P-TECH program. How will they be counted? As first-time, full-time students coming in to finish off? You know, that throws
Bingo!
that throws
Bingo.
a curve into
It does.
It absolutely does. And that's why we are pushing back to say you're not using the right statistics. However, the reason why it's not happening is FERPA. Because the only way to measure this then would be by individual student and tracking where they go. And the privacy law is saying absolutely not. That's why we're trying to figure it out with very talented folks. How do we show you where we are? And we're not going to stop P-TECH because we lose them in the shuffle.
Right.
Right, Sue?
Right.
So even if they go on to a four-year college, they have to go in as a transfer student. They won't count there either. The transfer number you see are 200. They don't count in our retention and graduation rate. They don't count.
Doesn't matter how you got them. It's the finish.
Well, that's the point we're trying
Right.
to make. So people get upset or scared about our numbers, and I'm saying you have no idea we are doing very well, but the numbers would say differently.
It's as if they didn't exist.
Correct. There are over, 2 million, 3 million students a year who transfer in this country. They don't count. President Obama doesn't count. He did not count because he switched colleges. It's crazy.
Not an American anyway.
Yeah, there you go.
So who cares, right?
That's why
Let's not go there.
we're trying to figure out how
Strange
to
name.
best
How to
capture
represent that. Yeah,
who we
exactly.
are.
Yeah.
And it's working. I mean, the chancellor gets it. I mean, okay, so I was on television talking about it. I had a person who was not happy about Excelsior have to admit what I said. You're using data that really doesn't capture us. And this is the new normal because you're not going to get your first-time, full-time student here, full-time staying and never drop out. Those days are almost over. Okay, so that's why we'll always try to educate you as best we can.
And the student who, like my grandson, is in a very highly specialized program at SUNY Alfred and has decided he does not wish to carry 19 credits a semester in his senior year and will opt to have an extra semester.
Yeah, bye-bye. Off the rolls he goes. Or he counts later.
This is public education. I know, and we have to have some kind of leeway. I didn't go straight through.
You didn't
Did
count.
everybody, is there anybody here who didn't, who went?
I had 2 years.
I did.
You were a good girl, but I dropped out a semester and did straight.
I agree.
And I
was
still
always part-time.
survived.
Yeah,
Right.
none of you counted.
I carried 30.
Now remember, we didn't start counting this stuff until the Higher Education Reauthorization, Higher Education Act started under President Johnson. And the only reason why we've started is because of Title IV and the funds of Pell and TAP and all of that stuff. And there's a reason why the elite institutions today will not take transfer students, because they don't count and they don't need them. It's a very interesting dynamic to watch closely. The publics, you're right, and to your point, that's who we are. We're in, out, access, all that good stuff. And so when people say the public's retention graduation rates suck, say to them, well, that's not necessarily the case, because that's what's happening.
We're
That's
here
what's
to
happening.
make a better
Correct.
society and a democracy possible. And
Correct.
And there's still life that's happening while you're going to school.
Right.
Oh, really?
But rest assured, we're trying to figure it out, and we're trying to be an advocate for not using iPads. So every chance we get, we make this point. Interesting, isn't it? Yeah.
I'm probably asking the same question, only in different words. And I've asked it before, several times over the years. When I go to high school graduations, it seems very important for the students graduating. Well, I'm going to Cornell, or I'm going to Temple, or I'm going to. And a certain number of them say going to Cobleskill, but a large number say they're going to go elsewhere. However, in my travels, which are somewhat limited, of course, in the agricultural field, but there's a number of those students that go 1 year or 1 semester to Cornell, Temple, or all those other schools, and come back here for all the reasons. Live at home, maybe it's cheaper. It's all the reasons. Are those students counted anywhere?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's quite a.
I apologize. You'll see them under transfer.
Right. I was wondering.
Yeah, but for iPads, no. That's why we show you the transfer numbers. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
Marion,
Yeah.
just quickly, you said about the 19-year-olds. Are we finding that they're coming in later? That, you know, I'm not ready to go to college, and so I'm taking a year off, and then they're coming in later or not?
There's some of that, but what the biggest competitors are the for-profits, the certificate programs, the businesses who are setting up their own universities to do that, and the credentialing. That's probably where they'll go first. A lot will still go to the community colleges, and that's the other thing we have to say who we are as a 2-year school. And some are not. They're just not going to be showing up. So some may come back a little later, but I would say the bulk of them are probably lost until maybe early adulthood, that they realize that maybe they have to. That's why we're going into micro-credentialing. That's why we're talking to a lot of companies to say, why don't we do that for you and do the credentials? We're trying to figure that all out. You want to add anything else to that?
One thing I would add is with the decline in the high school graduating population in New York State, admissions is putting a tremendous amount of effort into recruiting more out-of-state students. And in our current year, out-of-state students are 9% of our population, but they're 19% of our revenue.
And something else.
So that's a very good investment of our time and resources, and they're doing it very strategically in terms of going to places where there are huge 2-year ag colleges where there might be a good transfer population. And you know, they're really trying to do that as intelligently and inexpensively as possible, but really increase our out-of-state numbers.
And that's a mixed bag. That's a very mixed bag, because if we're a state school and getting state funds, but you know, why are we getting out-of-state students? Because we are more reliant on tuition than ever before, but they're not eligible for Excelsior. So the state, actually what SUNY has been asking for, what they call the border states and the border colleges, can we recruit more from them? And as Pennsylvania, for example, decreases in its agriculture offerings, as well as Massachusetts, can we go get those students? Because we can serve them. So we're all doing that. As I think we're not the only ones, but again, here, you know, it's a mixed bag. So when your state and local legislators ask how many New York State students you have, that's why we keep that number there. So we're watching it along with you. So if you look this year, 2018, the number of New York State students is, well, it's 91%, it's 2,000, and like Bonnie said, about 9% 204. And you can see that's been somewhat consistent, actually. But you know, you may see a ramp up in that. Thanks for that, Bonnie. It's a puzzle. It's a mosaic, and I am proud to say that I have a team here who knows exactly how to market this, move this forward, watch it, analyze it, and we'll keep you posted.
As I've said before, too bad we couldn't make a date an arrangement with all of New England states.
Yeah,
they have very expensive agricultural programs still. But they're very decreasing because of the number of agricultural organizations, except for small farms in New England. A lot of students between the 6 New England states. It's too bad we couldn't say, okay, we'll take your students in ag. We'll give you a rebate, for lack of a better term. We'll call it something different than that, but we'll at least get an additional tuition.
We're looking at it. We do have some more students coming in from Connecticut than we have, haven't we not? I think that's the largest.
It's been a popular state, right?
Yeah, and we're hoping that the changes in scholarship awarding will also help increase our out-of-state population. We have kind of 3 tiers of the scholarship funding. We have grants for any Schoharie County students who want to live on campus are eligible for a $4,000 to $6,000 annual grant. Any out-of-state students in any major that want to come are eligible for grants to live on campus that range from $2,000 to $5,000, depending on their high school GPA. And then for the rest of New York State, it's not all majors, because we're not including the majors that fill and we close. But that too is going to be available tiered, and it's all required that they live on campus, because we're trying to fill those empty beds at the same time.
It looks like if somebody walks in the front door, it's a one-way door. You can't get out.
That's our hope.
We'll arrange some kind of a plan for you.
That's right.
You come in, you're not going to let you out.
Right. We'll make you a deal you can't refuse.
Right.
Deal you can't refuse.
So
Very good.
we'll
Very
keep
good.
you posted on, every meeting we'll continue to inform you.
Well, it is important. It's
It's
the grease
very.
on the wheel.
It is. Just to let you know, the cabinet is moving forward with the strategic plan, and we are working with our Fiscal Affairs and Strategic Planning Committee, known as FASP, and we're asking them to do 2 very important analyses for us. One, and Sue was there yesterday to talk to them. Wendy is always there. Should we become a competency-based institution? Instead of using classes and what we call inputs to measure success, should we become an institution that it's all about outcomes? It's a heavy lift, and it's all or nothing. But we think somebody needs to review this for us as we're moving forward, and we thought FAST would. And Sue, I'm going to ask you to tell us how the meeting went. Mm-hmm. The second one was we're asking them to look on the online. What are the cost-benefit analysis of that for us? They embrace this very well. They're very excited to help us. And then there are 4 other initiatives that we have started that we're asking for representation. We're revamping our retention task force. We are going to be doing the Great Colleges to Work For, which I know, Olive, we have representation for that. We are also looking at Prodigy, and Scott and Sue are going to take the lead on that. And the other initiative just slipped.
The workforce planning.
Thank you.
Committee.
The Advisory Committee on Workforce Planning that Wendy wants to start to say, do we have the right mix? It's not just when faculty and staff retire. What are we doing? How are we doing that? And so the shared governance piece on this is, I think, quite robust. And Sue, do you want to add anything else?
Yeah, and we also talked about really doing some research on developing a master's degree program.
That's
so
right.
That was the other area.
That was the other area.
We asked them to take a look at. So I think their biggest challenge right now is where to start, because it's all exciting and what could they dive into first. So they're going to do a little preliminary research and maybe tackle the online and the master's first, and the competency base seems a longer term developing plan, so they'll take a look at that as well.
And one of them said to us, right, Sue, at our meeting, what if we say no to competency-based? Is that a waste of our time? I said, absolutely not. You're figuring something out for us, and I guarantee you're going to tell us something else along the way. So they want to make sure their work isn't a waste of time. I think they worry about that, and I said, I promise you, it is not a waste of time. We need the answers to this. Either we're going to go forward or we're not. And we need your assistance and your good guidance. So we're using them very well. Yeah, Ann?
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be so talkative today, but education has really been my life since 1962. My concern is, are we considering what's happening? This is the online and a lot of things. Are we considering what's happening to our society generally, where we become more and more separated? I think we've all seen that recently, and that we don't have classes where people of different types have to sit in class every day with one another. And I'm concerned about the education only for the job and not for how we live together.
I don't think we ever said that.
No, I know you didn't. I'm just expressing, this is not what anybody said, but increasing online courses separates people.
And I think this kind of came up to some extent at the meeting because, our focus is applied learning. So naturally that question always comes up, how do we reconcile the two? And what I said to the committee is, this is not for every program, this is not, in every area, but it might make sense, and how do we then incorporate engagement, in a different kind of way that is true to who we are as a campus. So that's something I think they'll consider as well, but I think it takes that into account.
Right. I mean, we have to check it. This is not an institution who puts our head in the sand. And if we do, we're going to lose out. So whether it's for us or not, I can then go to the chancellor and say, this works here, it doesn't work here, and this is why. And it's not just a no, because that's not going to work. And I agree. And online is not for everybody. I absolutely agree. And we have to also justify this very expensive complex. And we can do that because of the kind of education we do here. But the question has been asked and will continue to be asked, why are you so expensive? Can you justify that? And the answer is absolutely. But if we can show other ways that, otherwise it all goes away, right? It all goes away. So thank you for that. So the budget plan, I don't think anything else we're going to add right now, Wendy, that you're going to do this?
The workforce advisory committee is the biggest piece right now.
I'm going to turn to Scott in a minute. I just want to let you know we have a branding committee going that's going to start looking at how do we take all this good stuff and what is the brand these days. We've got the strategic plan, how do we move forward with our image and how we're going to brand the entire institution, including t-shirts, right down to t-shirts, banners, wave signs, everything. It's time. We have a cohesive direction, so now we're hoping the branding will follow. So we'll keep you updated on that. And John, did you want to say anything before I turn over to Scott in terms of any of our work right now?
Yeah, no, I don't have much to add from my presentation last month, short of, as the president talked about, SUNY's really making a push towards increasing the presence on every campus for philanthropy. And, I think it's a culture that we're starting to put forth to staff, faculty, and students alike. And I think it's one that is going to take a little bit of time, but I also see a lot of people looking at it and welcoming it. So far so good. Stay tuned. The foundation, I don't want to upend Tim's report, but we've got some good things in store. Thank you for the opportunity.
He's keeping us on our toes, let me put it that way. Just yesterday he said, are you ready for your plan giving packet? I'm like, oh, okay. Scott, Dr. Ferguson's here to give you an update on the good work we're doing in diversity. So I turn it over to you.
I understand there were some questions.
Well, this was handed out last month in the meeting, and we really haven't had a chance to read it. So I asked the committee to read it and to ask any questions that they have on the plan, and hopefully they've done their reading. Do you have any questions, any of you?
As you're thinking about that, Scott, why don't you talk to him about the recruitment pilot?
Yeah.
And then I have several questions I have on it too.
Perfect.
So. Okay. Well, I don't want to switch topics. So if people have questions on their mind, I'm more than happy to answer those in regards to our report.
Talk about the campus climate survey.
Yep.
What kind of results did you get from it, or have you had them?
So we've been administering that every 2 years. We started that 2 years ago. I believe that was the first one.
Yeah.
It was an initiative from our diversity, equity, and inclusion committee. And there was some work done on developing it, and then we administered it. We had 800 and some, I don't remember the exact number, 800 and some participants. That was to the entire campus, so faculty, students, and staff. Some campuses administered every 3 years. We decided we wanted to administer it every 2, so we administered it again this past spring. We have the results, but we haven't done the analysis of that yet. We're just starting on that. So we can't do a comparison yet of how it's gone between those two assessment periods.
Okay. But the results will be coming sometime this
Yes. Our estimate for the qualitative analysis is going to be about 8 weeks, so we're expecting to have all the analysis done toward the end of the year.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, then on the campus diversity plan and assessment against SUNY's plan.
Yes.
That has been done, I understand, but what results did you get on that?
So we took the Chief Diversity Officer charge that was given by SUNY to each campus, and we took the broader SUNY diversity initiative announcements that were made, and we kind of mapped what we've got going on here on campus against those requirements, if you will. There were a few things that we had some voids in, and there were a number of initiatives that we have going into those areas. I don't have them up right now, but the pilot staffing process was one of our actions that we put in that, and we just kicked that off 2 weeks ago, right now? I think it was 2 weeks ago? Yeah. 2 weeks ago, we kicked that off on a search that's going on in residence life for 2 different positions. And we also have given that to our action group to kind of review and give some feedback from a diversity perspective as well. And when we get the results from both of those, we'll make some tweaks and then we'll bring it to the cabinet as a proposal on how we modify our staffing process as a campus to be more inclusive.
Okay.
So that's just an example of one of the actions we have in there.
Let's see. I have some more here. Well, you said that you held some panel discussions on incorporating diversity into the classroom curriculum as part of the fall academic professional development session.
Yes.
You have any idea how well those were attended?
Yes, I was there.
Okay.
We had 2 panel discussions at 2 different times. We had 5 professors on each panel, and they were from a variety of programs, so we had very different perspectives. We had some, it wasn't a consistent, the professors changed. Some of the professors were different in each panel. That's the simple way to state it, sorry. But the disciplines were still represented. So I had somebody from the paramedics program on each one. I had somebody from English on each one. And then I had some professors from specific programs. Horse therapy, therapeutic horsemanship was there. I'm forgetting, there was 2 others. I'm forgetting what they were off the top of my head. So we gave a really broad perspective of how to integrate the topics of diversity, equity, and inclusion into the actual curriculum of courses. And we, it was really an opportunity for professors and faculty and staff that might be doing adjunct teaching, things like that, to see how they can integrate some of the principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion into what they're teaching in the classroom. And it was meant as a sharing exercise for them to learn what other faculty are doing.
Did you have fairly good attendance?
Not near as much as I hoped for.
Okay.
But
it's a start.
It's a start. It was the first time we did it, and I think that the people that were there gave really good feedback about what it broadened their horizon of thinking of how this can be done.
Okay. I think, this one was already been answered. I was interested in how the Greek situation was coming along, but Marion has already talked to that. And the SGA Student Bill of Rights, how's that coming along?
So, Shannon, we're chatting about that on Friday.
Okay.
Scott's given feedback, Roberta's given
Excellent.
feedback. I've got it, and now
Yeah.
bringing it back around.
Okay.
You have a question, Ann? Okay.
On the Ag PT, how any tabulated results yet? It's become the college associated with the regional Ag PT Tech High School, which was established to increase educational opportunities for high school students to earn college degrees. Do you have any idea how?
So we do have 35 students here on campus. They're high school juniors. So this is their first year actually attending classes on campus. They're here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 9 to 1. So far, so good. Midterm grades come out Friday, so we'll see. And then we have another group that we're working with already, another group that will be on campus next year. I would expect between 40 and 45 students additionally. So when these juniors become seniors, they'll be here every day. And then we get a group of juniors who are here Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So we have set aside a classroom space for them that they use as kind of a homeroom or advisory. That's in Warner 214. So between classes, they return there, or they can go to the library. We actually are working collaboratively with Liberty Partnership to have tutors available for them as well. So tutors have been hired, student tutors, who actually are assisting them with some courses too. And they can actually push right into that advisory room, that classroom with them between their classes. So I think that's working out pretty well. We're just kind of excited to see where it takes us. It's the airplane that we're building as we fly. So it's very much, you never know.
Hoping for the best results.
Yes, we are. But I think what it speaks to, though, is, we know we have to be adaptable. We have to be a little bit more nimble. And so, in terms of scheduling these students, I think where the challenges might come in is, you have students with different backgrounds, different levels of preparedness, students who may or may not be successful in a course. So, it's not as easy to move them along in a cohort as maybe you might think. And so we have to be prepared for every instance of a student having to repeat a course, having to take a different course, a student being well prepared and moving on. And these students, if you recall the model of the PTEC, they can finish their high school years and their associate's degree in 4 to 6 years. Some might do it in 4, and there will be those who do it in 6. So we have to be prepared for everything along the way.
Yeah, I'd like to add something else to that. I'm on a school board, a local school board here, and I can tell you that from a connection with the community perspective, the PTEC program inside the high school, the number of students going to it keeps growing every single year. So us being connected with that is a really good thing in terms of future students coming here.
Will someone talk a little more about the KIPP program?
KIP?
Yes.
I don't know that one. I got that one from someone else.
Me. You got it from me. KIP is a program that is mainly running out of New York City, and it's for students who are living in the city who may not have access to good education. It's a charter school. I became very involved with them in New Jersey and Newark, and their retention graduation rate out of high school is 90%, and these are kids who are from underprivileged neighborhoods. They have asked to partner with us because they like what they see here, and they've actually, New Jersey called New York and said, "Yeah, gotta go to Cobleskill." So they are a charter school that would like to do more with us, urban kids coming here. We haven't figured all of that out yet because we wanted to get ourselves settled, but that's what it is. It's a strong program. Whether you like charter schools or not, that's another story. It's a good program.
Okay. Ann, you had a question?
No, I just said that it's a good program because it changes lives.
Eric?
One of the hot issues at the hospital is, believe it or not, how to label our restrooms to support gender, identity, diversification.
Scott has.
So I wonder if that's part of the planning or thinking.
Yes.
In Ireland?
As I went into a restroom labeled men.
Yes.
So, one thing I would add to that, and then I would defer to Bonnie a little bit, but when we mapped ourselves against SUNY's initiatives, that is one of the areas that is kind of identified that we should be looking at and continuing to move forward on. So, but I know in the residence halls we've done a bunch of work, so I defer to the two.
Athletics, actually, there was a mandate from NCAA and athletics, so we had to literally rebuild a bathroom. Did we not have to? We had.
Yes.
Yes. So we're getting some signals from SUNY, but we're also being proactive.
Right.
For the last
Can I
several.
ask a question? Does it matter as long as the stalls have a door on them?
No.
No.
Who's in there?
No.
I mean,
No.
this is, I
In
don't
Ireland,
care.
we were all in one line, and it was guys.
Unfortunately, we're not in Ireland. Yeah, that's it's
Everybody
amazing.
I don't know.
But it was faster too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Excuse me, in your house, you have this?
Yeah. And so for the last several years, as we've been building and renovating, we're just putting in place restrooms
Right.
without gender.
The hardest part isn't restroom, it's what the picture should look like.
Yes,
Oh,
that's
just
true.
the word restroom. Just, well, if you can't read,
You need an icon.
Yeah,
Right.
but still, icon for
a toilet.
That works.
Why not? You know,
Yes.
hey,
Interesting issues.
we have, the world has changed.
Yes.
Solving these problems.
You have other comments you'd
Well,
like to make?
there's a couple newer initiatives. The one is the pilot staffing program that we've already discussed. We've also, our action group is getting engaged. That just started this fall. We've got very specific agenda issues that we're dealing with there. One is on a letter welcoming and our approach to diversity as a campus that we wind up integrating into our website and communication. Another is having a diversity area of our website that's kind of buried really deep now. So we're looking at what's the best practice way to have that kind of represented. And the third one is how do we incorporate diversity into curriculums. I'm sorry, let me take that back. Into our courses. So it's not curriculum inside the course, but it's actually courses related to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Some other things, starting an initiative dealing directly with students. So we're having a safe space discussion forum once a month for students to be able to talk about anything that they desire from a diversity, equity, and inclusion perspective. We're continuing our diversity discussions, and there was one other that I'm forgetting.
Sandwiches with Scott?
That's the safe space with students. So first one is 26th. So we've got a bunch of things that we're working on.
Sounds exciting.
Doing a good job.
Thank you. Any other questions on this report?
I think that concludes our report. Just to let you know, though, we are doing an economic roundtable on November 13th, at which time the county will unveil its strategic plan proposal for economic development. So they'll unveil it at the college. So you'll all be getting an invitation.
Okay. All right, faculty governance update, and I understand you're giving it for Barb.
You can read it because there's a lot there. My suggestion is you may want to bring it back with you at the next meeting so Barb can update you. I just want to add that, as you heard me say earlier, we're working very well. The shared governance model is working well. And you can see how busy they are. But the one thing I wanted to just point to your attention, the kinds of things they're working on is they're looking at, for example, the dual degree program. I'm looking under academic policies, trying to figure out the credit hour policy, which will dovetail into whether or not we should become a competency-based campus. Sue or Bonnie or anybody else, any insights in terms of to the good work they're doing? I mean, every VP is somehow engaged with this, or Wendy, or...
Yeah, and I think I'll just say, for the Academic Policies Committee, they've been really trying to be a lot more proactive. So, really thinking ahead about what types of policies we need. So we have a micro-credentialing policy in place already. And these dual majors and dual degrees, they're really trying to anticipate student need and student demand. So they've been pretty proactive about that.
Like I said, I think the biggest fear is that we would have work with them that may not be worthwhile, and that is certainly not the case, particularly if you look at what they're doing. So she thought it was too long. I said, absolutely not. I think it's an important document for you all to see how busy they are. And again, I would urge you to bring it back so that Barb can continue talking to you about their good work.
Okay, thank you. Foundation update.
Good morning.
Good morning, Tim.
First, thank you, Dr. Trencher, for finding this gentleman.
That's all of us.
So last week, John had the pleasure, I hope, of meeting with the full board. So things are changing in the foundation. We're excited about that. This report's pretty much all about you. So jump in anytime you want. Yeah. So John last week gave the full board a good description and understanding of where things are going to be going in the future with the foundation. So we're really excited about it. The board is 100% behind him on whatever he wants to do. We've never had the kind of leadership that you're bringing right now because we've never been down this road with what's going on and how the change is going to be happening. But we're very excited about it. We're helping him set up with what he needs to be successful in his new position here. And I don't want to say too much because I don't know what, but there's a lot of changes coming.
Stay tuned.
He's been really worried about filling us in about some of the ideas that he has had, consolidate, to move forward. So more to tell you in the future about it. I don't want to tell you too much until we've worked it out. What's going to happen, but he's been great to work with so far. I hope you're going to say the same about me.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I don't know if there's anything you want to elaborate on that.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Again, the first 6 months to a year, we're really looking at shoring up the shop, making sure that we've got the pieces in place. As I've said to the board, we're going to make some advances, but they may not be the lovely window dressing that we're all looking for in year one. But stay tuned, because I think year two is when we're really going to start to grow by leaps and bounds, and that's what we're most excited about.
May I add, just to remind everybody, we revamped the structure, and Wendy Gilman is the executive director of the foundation and has stepped in a major void to help John and the foundation get to where they are. Her acumen with the finances and how to get to the next step. So I need to also thank you publicly, Wendy, for everything you've already done. And this is where we're showing good work, where the VPs are stepping in as teams. And I was teasing everybody because it gets messy, because, it's a collaboration. Sometimes people don't know exactly their role. But everybody on this leadership team understands that if there's something that's not working or that we don't understand together, we talk about it. And I think this is a good example, as John is taking on, and Wendy's role in to help the foundation stay solvent is quite the team approach. So I need to publicly thank you.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. Wendy, thank you for getting us through the transition, and it's been great having two of those.
Yeah, right.
Poor Wendy has drawn the short straw.
She has.
She has to work directly with me.
She does. So we're very excited about the model.
Reformatting everything in the office and how things will run and how we're going to be doing things. So more to come on that, and I don't want to say too much.
No.
But I also want to remind everybody, Friday night, for our culinary extravaganza. We hope to see you there with your wallets.
If you can't make it, send your wallet. Send your wallet.
Does anybody have any questions? I'll be happy to.
Do you want to talk about the
Wallet?
Text to Give initiative? I can describe
Sure,
that quickly.
please.
So, we are working with the communication department, the academic department. I always want to be very clear on that. And they recently, we as a campus got a donation from the Gaming Commission, New York State Lottery, for some studio equipment for the communication department. And so we're going to be raising some funds to help outfit it a little bit more completely and upgrade some of the equipment so it's the most modern equipment that our students can use so when they get out in the workforce. And we will be sending out a blast. So even if you can't come, you can indeed text to give on the day of, and we hope that you will be generous and support the department. So thank you. I do want to apologize. I won't be able to come.
Okay, check's good.
I sent a check in. I was a good girl.
Thank you very much.
It's not from no support. It's just.
We understand. Thank you, ma'am. That's everything for me.
Thank
you, Tim.
But it's a good move. And thank you, administration, for doing this. It's been long overdue.
Yes.
There's a history.
Okay, who's giving the alumni update? Wendy?
Sure. What I'll just say is the alumni board has been meeting. We did homecoming, and I know you have that on your reports. I won't really say much about that. And just wanted to make sure you all know Alumni Commons is doing very well. It continues to stay full. I think that's it. I mean, unless you have any specific questions. And John actually is part of one other thing. As part of the reorganization of the office is how Marie is going to continue to work with the alumni and alumni engagement, and that's going to be a big piece of his efforts going forward.
Absolutely.
We look forward to more to come.
More to come.
Okay, several of you were at homecoming or pieces and parts of it, and I think it's the best we've had in a long time. I was really impressed. I thought the award ceremony was really well done, and the change in format I really thought went well. So kudos to Marie and and
one of our
staff.
recipients is sitting there.
Pardon?
And kudos to one of our recipients.
And then the interest in the Carriage House Cafe and General Store was overwhelming. I went down there and spent a couple hours, and the parents of the students coming in and the alumni, it was really wonderful. They sold out of everything, and of course Jason was this far off the ground, and rightly so. One of his projects came to fruition, and he was very pleased, and should have been. And I thought the fireworks was wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh, they're
good.
Really magnificent. And I know some of the community that could see them. Otaiko and Tom Greenlees, for one, they said it was like in their front yard, and they thought it was just beautiful. So it was a great day, and the weather was held out. The parade went well.
The games were great.
Yes.
Have the athletic company.
Yeah. So kudos to all of you for really a great day.
Truly, that was a team effort.
Oh yeah, right?
It really was.
Some of you weren't here last meeting, and I know the minutes went out, but I also know sometimes they don't always get read. But I just want to review the committee participation that we talked about last month, and we still have the Advancement Office Committee. And there's been a little change, and I don't think the same members should be on the same committee all the time. I think it's great to change around. I believe in change. And so Susan Reitmeyer and Eric Stein are going to be on that committee. Enrollment Management Committee, Tracy and myself. And the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, Ann Myers and Barb DeCoco. And great colleges to work for is Linda and Rich. And Ag, Phil Keane. So I think we all have our work cut out for us, and hopefully everyone was happy enough with their committee. It'll change next year if we still have the committee. So,
and I want to remind the senior officers, when you engage with the council, talk to each member how they would like to work with you, and it doesn't have to be the same. Whatever makes sense for each area. So, for example, with enrollment management, it might be a good thing to really get Tracy and Olive up to speed on everything we just talked about. There's a lot going on.
Okay, and thank you, Sue, for sending out the advisory committee dates and reminder. I don't know if anyone got to go to any of them or not. I had 6 other things going on at the same time, so I didn't make it this time.
Well, we'll just keep you posted.
Yeah, that's right.
Certainly we'll try to make some of them. The last one was so close to homecoming and everything else that
there's a lot going on.
There were a little. Yeah. And I just wanted to publicly thank Tim Moore for stepping into the Rotary Farmers or Ag Night last week. Because of all of the things going on in Schoharie County, Richard Ball wasn't able to be the speaker, and so Tim Moore stepped in and did a really great job of presenting what's going on at the college and a lot of the same things he would say to an orientation group, but he did a fabulous job. He brought in some material anyway as handouts, and so it worked in very well. And then we'll ask him a question about where the college is going and all of that, and so he got to expand on that a little. So I want to publicly thank him. I thank him that night. I know Bill did too, but he did a super job and really made the college proud.
He always does.
Yeah. Okay. I know that Tracy wasn't able to attend the AC conference, but Eric got there on Saturday and he's all set to report.
There was a lot of buzz about the Friday programs, the 2 big sessions with free speech on campuses and diversity and inclusion. So I don't know the details of those, but everybody was very happy with the content and the extent of the discussion. So,
positive or negative?
Positive.
Okay.
So I don't know if they ever publish proceedings from these things.
They usually have some kind of minutes coming out.
If there's a PowerPoint that SUNY gave, they'll more than happy send them if there's something. If you want to go through your channels, if not, because it's probably the same PowerPoint the president saw.
Okay, well, I'll get in touch with Tia and then and have her send something
it's good
to
stuff.
us. Yeah. Maybe we can view it then at the next council meeting.
I attended Saturday. I went down for breakfast. There weren't many people there. There was one other table full. So I sat at a table all by myself, which I like to do. I like to see who comes and sits down. Nice lady came and sat down next to me. We got to talking, and it turns out she's a Bassett doctor.
There you go.
She's on the SUNY Oneonta College Council.
Oh.
And then a gentleman sat down, and it turns out that he's the chair of the SUNY Oneonta College Council, but he's also a lobbyist for hospitals. So we talk about that.
You were right at home.
You was in his element.
Patrick Brown is his name.
Oh, I know Patrick Brown.
And then another gentleman sat down. I really don't know what he did, but he's also on the SUNY Oneonta. You see who I'm attracting. And so we got to talking about that. Then we went to lunch. I sat with the same people, and another gentleman sat down next to me from SUNY Brockport. And we, where are you from? And he said, oh, I was in Bassett Medical Center last weekend. My brother got sick, and that's where they went. The care is wonderful. Then the guy from SUNY Stony Brook sat down next to him, and there was another connection. I wasn't sure if I was at an ACT meeting or a health meeting. Anyway, Saturday when we got down to there were about 30 people there. The ACT business meeting, they talked about the council board needs strengthening, that need members, advisory committees, could be used to develop council members, the importance of aligning council, trustee, and chancellor agendas, diversity, outreach, advocacy are big issues. There was a lot of talk about ACT policy advocacy and the role that we could play, and while ACT representatives are invited to the SUNY trustee meetings, ACT doesn't have a seat, is not a representative. So there's going to be an advocacy push to see if an ACT rep could be a trustee.
The president has been going just as a visitor.
Yes, but she said it was not really very satisfying. Statistics, there are currently 261 council members statewide. In 2019 coming up, 126 are past term, 25 have expiring terms, there are 44 vacancies, and 66 out of the 261 are actually current. So, there's a real push to get appointments made.
Really? What's the governor doing?
running for re-election.
Or naming bridges, perhaps.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
The council asked if each individual council's bylaws could be sent to tier to compare and see if there are best practices. So maybe we can take care of that.
Yeah, I'll send her a copy. And ours was approved by SUNY. Wendy took care of that. So.
Now, apparently, ACT is run by an executive committee, and there was talk about actually forming a council board of directors, which would be able to spread the workload more. And we're supposed to let TIER know if anybody's interested in serving on that, in addition to the executive committee. Next year's meeting is in Cooperstown, October 18th through 20th. It's going to be 3 days. Agenda items for that would be future initiatives. They suggest that each council pass a resolution advocating for a council seat on the SUNY Board of Trustees in 2019. We were encouraged to pursue students as official members of councils. There was a talk about where do councils fit in shared governance and how can we help our president. So, in a lot of these things, I think we're pretty far ahead of the curve of, if those items were representative of the other councils. Elections were held to the executive board. Vita DeMarchi agreed to serve again as chair.
Good.
If we really push to form this board of trustees to help her out. Patrick Brown is first vice president. Dan Snezak, I think his name is second VP. He was one of my breakfast buddies. Marianne Savali, secretary, and Ron Mascot, treasurer. We then, the next thing was a shared governance panel, and on the panel, moderating it was Sophie Umansky, who's the student government president, and she's from SUNY Cortland. Gwen Kay, president of University Faculty Senate. Michael Braun, president of SUNY Student Assembly, and Tom Gallagher, chair of SUNY Portland Council. And talked about what's the definition of shared government, alignment of constituencies was put out there. Cortland has an institutional assessment council that all organizations are managed on. Faculty crossover among constituencies. The students said, you know, we want to be part of it, but it takes a lot of time. Asked a question about existing shared government structures, council members on committees, talked about trying to increase faculty participation in council meetings, student government primary goals, community involvement with the college, ideal shared governance model, reps on committees, communication, promotion of shared governance groups, students on faculty committees. It was asked what among shared governance practices hasn't worked well. Advocacy, involvement of all constituencies, dissemination of agendas, mentioned the faculty senate meeting at Colby in January, not enough community outreach. A lot of it came back to community outreach and environment as a constituency of perhaps shared governance. There was a question and answer period, and I asked the question, how involved are the campuses in economic development as a way to engage the community? And the only thing that was said is presidents often serve on the regional economic development councils. So I'm thinking about everything we have done, and Mary, and all the involvement you have. And I tell you, we're light years ahead in that initiative than anything I heard about that meeting. I think they were kind of stunned by the question. What do you mean economic development?
Wow,
Not
that's a surprise. Yeah.
They also asked how shared governance was used in the presidential searches, and I think we had a wonderful shared governance approach to it. So I did tell Gwen Kay that we look forward to seeing her in January. So she came over after the thing and we talked a little bit about that.
Very excited about it.
Yeah. The next session was student emergency funding and services, which sounds pretty dry, but it actually turned into a pretty interesting discussion. Let's see. Changing roles of students, new issues. The effort is to keep students in their seats, integrate all services. Patricia Thompson, Assistant Vice Chair of Student Financial Aid, was there. And she basically said there are a lot of services at SUNY Central to help students stay in their seats. But it sounds like nobody really knows about all of these things.
That's
one of the speakers talked about having everything in one central office, well, kind of a single point of entry to all of these diverse services. And emergency funding is defined as beyond usual customary needs, so it's not the grants and things like that. Food, housing insecurities can be addressed, on-campus food pantries on some campuses, completion scholarships to cover unpaid bills. Harry, who's Harry? Student Assembly from Binghamton University, Harry Bitker, said students don't know how to navigate the resources, especially in an emergency. SUNY Binghamton has this one-stop health advocacy office, case management. The way these things get around is mostly word of mouth about emergency services. There are affordable textbook resources. Students aging out of foster care, how do they make the transition?
Homeless students too.
Yeah.
Some foster kids can stay into their 25 though if they're if they're going to school.
Yeah. Discussion: are there indicators of students who might need some of these services? A couple of things they talked about: late acceptance students might be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Interesting. Certain majors, and one of the speakers said he or she was an art history major, an English major. And the support in that case would be to connect students in certain majors to post-graduation resource. Okay, you're an English major. What are you going to do with it? Unless you have a clear, unless you're Ann Myers, what are you going to do with it?
I'm an English major too.
Art history, unless you're going into museum management or whatever. What are you going to do with it? That wasn't me, that was the speaker. They talked about that, somebody asked about the Excelsior program. And that's when, I think it was Patricia Thompson said, we are building the airplane as we fly it. So that's the second time I've heard it.
Absolutely.
They said that was developed and had to be rolled out in 4 months or something.
Less than that.
Which is almost impossible. They've done it, but there are so many outstanding issues. If a student's in Excelsior and doesn't complete, the college has to eat the cost. That's an issue. I talked with her afterwards about the tap gap issue. That's a very well-known program. Excelsior program can't certify student eligibility until the end of the term. So you don't even know if the student is acceptable to the program. Student word of mouth. They talked about, I didn't write this down, so I gotta think about it. I'll come back to it. They talked, interesting, about pro bono services using graduate students or undergraduates. So Binghamton has legal and accounting, but it was suggested, like I think we may be doing, Albany law students have them on campus to provide pro bono, which I guess law students have to do some pro bono work. What about our accounting students? Could they help students do their taxes, for example? Reach out to the community, community donors, or is there an auto repair shop that might be able to do some work for at-risk students, financially at risk, whatever, absolutely need the car or whatever to get somewhere. So the creative juices were really flowing.
If you'd like, next meeting, we could share with you all the things that we are doing. We take it for granted, and I just turned to Bonnie too. I said we do students' tax. Some people help with students' taxes, but we would be more than happy to show you where we are on that continuum at your next meeting, so the staff can get together and pull that together for you.
Eric, would you? I know you're really busy, but would you sort of put some of that down in writing?
Sure.
And particularly,
don't want to read mine?
the high, no, I don't want that.
I'd be happy to.
And so that Irene can put it in the minutes. And we'll all have, and then maybe just send it out to us, or send it to me and I'll get it out to everyone.
The other thing I'd like to give to Irene is the highlight of the conference on Saturday is the scholarship recipient lunches. Again, just amazing students, and here's their bios, so we can
Good idea.
copy and send that. The technical campus winner was Farmingdale. The student is a nursing major with a 3.96 GPA. And she did not start as a nursing student. And I think it was ag business, I think. Another school that does that.
Not as well as we do.
I know what he's talking about, Phil.
Right. When you're finished. Very good.
Well, thank you so much for representing us, Eric. And,
interesting meeting.
Bringing back.
Yeah, this really was a lot on that Saturday. Very interesting stuff.
Could I ask you one question? Was there any more discussion from, maybe it comes from the governor's appointments office? I'm concerned with all the vacancies,
Yes.
the whole bag of.
The answer is
Yeah.
no. In fact, the
So.
speaker was saying, well, what's the governor doing? And they really didn't know what he was doing.
So next year it may be down to 15 people.
Right, exactly.
You know, I just want us out of business.
Yeah, I don't know what his plan is, but I know it's been, our council is in really pretty good shape in comparison to some. More than half of us now, our term is expired, but we keep hanging in, and some of them don't do that. And so they get down to 3 or 4 and they don't have a quorum, and said they couldn't even hire the president. Some of them were having difficulty doing that. So, it gets to be really critical. I think the ACT president, and she's just been reelected, I believe her term expired something like 2013.
She's been on, I think, for 9 years.
That's ridiculous.
So, it's really ridiculous.
Yeah.
Not fair.
But, and SUNY keeps publishing these results. Last year, they published them. So, I don't know what they would do if the way the system is set up, if there's no council members available.
Change the regulations.
Yeah,
Well, something has to happen.
Something has to happen.
Yeah, because just the president was a real problem for many of the campuses when they don't have a quorum.
Again, I can't emphasize, the takeaway is that what we're doing here is just far away overall ahead of any of the other councils who are sharing what they're doing. Now, each one is doing something special, but I think overall, we're really solid.
So you felt good?
I felt really good. And
Way
the
to
food
go.
was good. Too much of it.
And since ag business was mentioned, I think I would like to mention that we lost John Shear, as everybody knows, and to say again what a wonderful asset he was to this college. He was stupendous.
Absolutely.
And
in the community.
Yes.
and in the community, ornery and outspoken, but a wonderful advocate for his students and his programming.
Absolutely.
So we need to make, I'd like a note of that in the minutes that I made, just to say.
Okay, any other council members have any comments?
Yes.
Yes.
I'd like to say that I'm going to be contacting Jason Evans within a day or two to find out if he's been contacted by Hoover Feeds. Situation was that I was having lunch and encountered a friend who happens to be in real estate, and we were comparing notes about what we're doing. And she said she was working with Hoover Feeds to try to find a facility so that a plant could be set up to process milk into, raw milk into pasteurized milk and yogurt and ice cream, and my jaw dropped and I said, you don't know about what's going on at the college? She knew absolutely nothing. And I told her to go back to the men at Huber and have them contact Jason. I said, we already have a facility doing that, and why reinvent the wheel? Why spend the money to set something up? So I want to see if Huber has reached out and suggest perhaps that a program inviting Huber and other farmers, for example, to come in as we had a tour with the council to see what's there and what's possible already, so that they can reach out to their customers and say, if you want to have an incubator for the milk, processing milk, it's here.
Yeah, there is a program for that with the incubator, and I know I see everybody's writing the notes down. So it's going to be about capacity, right, in terms of what is possible. So, but thank you. And I know Sue's writing it down, Bonnie's writing it down. I don't know what our capacity is in terms of taking care of ourselves first and what incubator companies we already may have in the pipeline. But keep your fingers crossed, because we're waiting to hear from ESD if we got re-upped for the incubator program. That was part of the REDC proposal. If that's the case, there should be some capacity for that. So we'll find out.
Yeah.
Just to let you know, the way that runs, Jason obviously is the executive director, but each center has a champion. But there's also, because it's so connected to the college mission, the provost and the deans are the academic councils. So anything Jason gets that may be using any of our facilities or programming goes through them. So that's the best way to do it, and the kind of information we can share with folks. So thank you for that. They could also go online and put a request in through the Institute itself if they haven't reached out to Jason directly. So.
Some of those committees, irregardless of the milk issue,
right?
It would be nice maybe to have a council member to be kind of the community liaison to talk about what Linda's talking about. She can sit at the table and talk to this person. Oh yes, we're doing.
Good idea.
You know, or whatever.
Do you want to? Would that? Well, let's think through that. I wonder if that's the institute. If they should be a part of.
I don't think the advisory committee.
Oh my God! Yes, yeah. We're setting up an advisory board for community members.
Okay.
And I think we should add a council member to that.
Yeah.
We got some ideas for that.
Okay.
Thank you.
It turns out, interestingly enough, just talking about the whole milk industry in the Northeast in general, one of the limiting factors is milk processing plants. And the reason is no money. No money. But in Pennsylvania, there was talk about building 9 new processing plants, but they can't get funding to get some of them going, and some of the milk is being dumped in the streets, actually.
Well, and that's one thing Jason did say. He was saying that people have come to him to say, can we use processing? But they're scared because if they pull out of their coalition, they're never going to be allowed back in. So if these are smaller entities, this may be the answer. But just...
There's some milk companies going around, believe it or not, larger co-ops, looking to take over milk, which is their plan, is to try to gain control of the Northeast milk.
Right.
However, when that happens, it's just what you said, you cannot go back.
Right.
I mean, some of the places have even offered some small premiums in today's dairy times have been very intriguing, but the farmer is scared to death to leave because I've been shipping to this company for 30 years.
I can't mess.
Or whatever.
Right.
And if I leave, they're probably happy in today's world to see me leave, and I'll never be able to go back, and XYZ company goes out of business, and where am I?
Correct.
No.
And one other note as before we end too, if you have not heard, related to that, our secondary judging contest students, which were all female this year, won the national. So 2 years in a row, Cobleskill, which is unheard of, has won the dairy judging contests 2 years in a row.
They've won some showmanship awards. They've won a number of awards.
And this was an all-female team, so.
And one of our students placed first individually.
And one of our students placed first individually, so.
Madison, Wisconsin.
They were in Wisconsin.
So.
That's great.
And just to let you know that the Bass Fishing Club came in 4th in a very prestigious contest, and evidently they're becoming well known, and they think it's, the students came and saw me and said, this is one of the best recruiting tools you can have, that when students find out about fishing and and how well we're doing as a bass club. So, you know, every club comes and is doing something, right? Go ahead, Cheyenne.
And the Woods, when they came to our FGA meeting yesterday, they had great news. They won their first for Jack and Jill competition, and they've never won yet. Cobleskill trying to up their name in their competitions, and they're coaching, and they're doing really well. And they won 5th out of like 40 teams.
Yeah.
Which I'm not sure if I'm right, so don't hold me to it. But they were really proud to come to the FGA meeting, and
Well, thank you for your support of them.
Yeah, totally.
Another college you'll be name unnamed came up to me at the state fair and said, how are you supporting them? And I told them how. I said, student government, and we have a coach and everything. And they said, gosh, we don't do that. They're not even, they can't even be affiliated with us. I said, how do you do it? I said, you value them. Yeah. And when you value them, you find the way. And then I walked away. That's right. Tim and Tracy were with me.
So you should try to tie the fishing to getting members. Our fishing club, we're out fishing for members.
Yes.
Probably done something cute like that.
There are a lot of student achievements that are.
Got some great students.
We do.
Okay, if there's no other business to come before the council, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
I like that motion.
Second. Did you
Tracy
first.
and Linda.
And Linda. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Excuse me, would you
Oh, yeah, one quick comment. I apologize about the greenhouse. Everything is moving forward with it. We are slowing it down a tad because they want to make sure that their funding is as secure as they can make it. So the production has been pushed back maybe 2 or 3 months. We'll do a public forum on it soon. And they've asked that I put together a group of folks who might be interested in investing. But that is moving forward. It's an $84 million operation. Thank you. So we slowed it down a little bit to get our ducks better in a row. Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay.